Dr. Gilbert Lawrence is a radiation oncologist at Regional Cancer Center in Utica with MVHS. And he has written a book, Your Happy Brain, Why and How to Hug It. And this is about mental health. Doc, if you could just pull that mic a little bit closer there. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. And I see you brought in a little brain for us.
A little model of the brain. You know, the way I got interested into this topic is because I'm an oncologist. I treat cancer. But there's more and more data coming out saying that how stress affects the outcome of cancer treatment.
Interesting.
Both at the time of diagnosis and even after treatment. So I got interested in terms of how did it do it? How does stress affect your system? And it turns out, you know, we know quite a bit, though it's not widely disseminated, how stress affects your immune system.
You know, Tim Reed, formerly with the Boilermaker, and Tim just went through a prostate and went through radiation. 45 days, I think, is the treatment. But he kept telling me about how important, because knowing that I was going through what I was going through, how important having a positive outlook and low level of stress. He really believed in that and staying positive. And you believe there's something to this?
Absolutely. And in fact, you know, the physiology in the brain shows how the brain responds to stress and produces what are called stress hormones. So we know the names of these hormones and how they affect your immune system. And we know also there are something called happy hormones that make you happy.
Yeah.
So when you're stressed and you produce the stress hormones, obviously the body doesn't like it. So it wants to trigger these happy hormones, and that's where addiction sets in. Because that's what addiction behavior, and we'll come more into that, stimulates the production of these happy hormones for a short period of time. And then soon you feel so good that you get addicted. You want to do it again and again, and you just get
interesting. And like you think about when you're stressed, you get a headache. That's your body's reaction, a bad reaction. How about, I think sometimes when I get stressed, my back hurts. Or my sciatica kicks in or something like that. So you believe that stress level is doing this to our body?
Actually, you know, pain is a form of addiction. Can be. I'm not saying everybody. But we know that the pain sensation does go to the emotional brain, which we've discovered exists for the last 10 years. We know more and more about how our emotional brain works. And so the pain affects the emotional brain, and the pain medication affects the emotional brain too, you know, because you want to relieve the pain, the emotional pain. So it becomes a double addiction. So sometimes it can be a challenge.
So what do you, and we can be addicted to a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yes.
So Your Happy Brain, Why and How to Hug It. What do you learn from the book? What
I've learned from the book is that, you know, basically our brain is aroused through what is called the five senses. Eyes, ears, mouth, taste, smell, and touch. And we in today's society use three of these five senses extensively, which is our vision, our hearing, and our taste. We don't use our sense smell that much, and we don't use our touch sense that much. And the touch sense is very important to stimulate that emotional brain. So when that emotional brain dysfunctions, say in childhood, then you get not autism is before the childhood, but you get ADHD, truancy, school dropout, the child doesn't learn in school. Then at an adolescent period, you get into addictions, you're trying something new, smoking, marijuana, this, that. When we get older, we get what is called emotional distancing from our spouse, our partner. And emotional distancing is at the root cause of divorce.
Interesting.
Because at the end of the day, it's that emotional distancing between the two partners that gets progressively worse and worse and worse. And that leads to addiction, and that leads to a lot of other social problems. And we blame these social problems, the addiction, for example, as the cause of the divorce. But there was a cause before that gambling, or before that drinking, or before that, all those things. And you know,
have you been talking to my wife? This is terrible.
Intervention, Bill.
As we get older, the emotional brain has a role to play in dementia. And dementia is a major problem after the age of 50, 60.
Yeah.
you know, with Alzheimer's and this and that. So it's a widespread
Yeah.
problem.
Do you want
I was just going to say, so are you, when you talk about a relationship and this emotional distancing, if you've had so many bad experiences with a particular person, your body or your brain just says, don't even interact, because you're trained that the outcome is going to be negative, and so you kind of just shut that person off, basically.
That is true. That is true. But the question then it becomes, how do you develop a relationship with that person?
Right.
Okay. So, for example, like the touch sensation, okay, which is simple, cheap, easy.
Yeah.
Okay. You know, in our book, our motto is, you know, hugging your child every day may prevent addiction. You know, if you look at it. So how does the touch sensation work? Well, we know that when you touch somebody, the touch receptor generates two signals. One signal goes to the brain that says, okay, you've been touched. And if you just had that signal, you would either respond to it you would either run away from it or you'll fight it. It's called a flight or fight response, okay? But then there's another signal that goes to the emotional brain that says, no, you don't have to fight it or run away from it. Just smile, just stare, just frown, just ignore it, just show big eyes. So really this emotional brain makes you human.
Right.
If you look at it at the end of the day, it's just not the... Before I got studying into this, I thought, well, it makes you happy, it makes you sad, you know, so there's nothing much to it. But really, it really is the fundamental flux that makes us human beings. And they've shown now that this emotional brain works with our cognitive brain for kids to develop in school, for kids to develop, develop their memory. So it's an important aspect. Yes.
When you talk about the hug element of it,
Yes.
preventing addiction for the parent or the child?
Both.
Oh, yeah. It's just, I think Andrew can tell you, I hug my son about 40 times a day. Can I become addicted to that too, I guess?
You know, sometimes the answer is yes. If you do something, even if it is good, but do too much of it, you can be addicted. For example, we call it workaholics.
Right.
For running is good, but then there are some people who are addicted to running. It's called a runner's high.
Yep.
Because we know that running produces endorphins, and you get addicted to your own endorphins.
And working out, you see people who are
can't get enough of it. Do you feel that some people? I've always heard some people have addictive personalities, others do not. And or do you feel that anyone could be addicted? It's just those steps that you're taking along the way that.
Yeah, I think anyone can get affected.
Yeah.
You know, can be right from a religious person to somebody who you think, oh, well, somebody who's unemployed or has many reasons to get.
Right.
But it's a biology.
Right.
It's a disease process of that emotional brain.
Mm-hmm. It is like anything else. Your brain is getting the attention that it wants, and you keep giving it.
And you have to keep feeding it in a balanced manner.
Right.
It's just like when you eat. You just can't keep eating only sugars or only protein.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a balanced diet.
Right.
And that's the thing for the brain. You have to feed it with a balanced diet.
Yeah. All right.
And I think, for young people today especially, I think you see this. I'd love to know what the doctor thinks about this on social media, where if you put up a picture and you get 100 likes, and you're like, wow, all these people like me, or they like my picture or whatever. And then the next time you put up a picture and you get 15,
right?
It's almost like, what did I do wrong? But it's
there's a
this
lot
is
of
very
things
interesting.
that you could be. So, what do you suggest people do?
So, we've written an article which appeared in the Observer Dispatch, but I have a web page. The book has a web page.
Yep.
And on the web page, there are some 5 articles.
It's, by the way, it's yourhappybrainbook.com.
That's it. It's simple. Yourhappybrainbook.com. And there are some 5. Going to the web page is free. Reading those articles is free. It's even a simple thing like breastfeeding. How does breastfeeding work on the child's brain? Just not nutrition, providing protein and calories, but it does stimulate that child's brain, and there is some development there. So read those things. I think they're very useful. And, the way nature has developed, the way evolution has developed, we need to do just simple things.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to spend a lot of money or do drugs or go to Las Vegas or have a good time. Just do what nature has designed, and your brain is attuned to that. So the brain is not attuned to TV. The brain is not attuned to the iPhones. So, now the big problem among teenagers is addiction to iPhones and leads to depression. And there's a whole host of including teenage suicides, attempted suicides and all. So it's a major problem. And if you look at it, it sounds exciting and interesting, but that's not the way our brain was designed.
I want to ask you about the attention deficit. And because there are a lot of parents that are going through this, and there'll be some doctors that will be. I remember the ADHD doctor. There was one that everything you came in with. I remember bringing my kids in, and by the time I left, he said I had ADHD, and he wanted to put me on meds. So, what do you suggest? Something other than medication? Is there a way to? What do you think?
Okay, so my emphasis in this whole field is to prevent these problems,
right?
Not to treat them. So
I see.
If you know somebody who's addicted, I mean, touch and hugging will not solve that problem.
Right.
That person needs some real advice.
Yeah.
But all this, what we are suggesting, in the book, is to prevent these mental issues from developing. To prevent ADHD from developing, improving your child's brain, and the important thing is to do it in a balanced manner.
Right,
So just not do one or two things, which is good, they are good, but you got to
consistently and level
and it should be a variety of things to interest the brain.
I wonder, like I know someone who hates to be hugged, hates to be touched. But so
it's you, isn't it?
The question, well, I'm a little weird with that. But the question would be: is it something that developed over time, or it also could be one traumatic incident, right? That
absolutely, yes.
So there's a lot. This is very complex.
It is very complex, but then those people have to have other ways of nurturing their brain,
right?
Because there are like 15 ways. If you read the book, we outline like 10, 12 ways of nurturing the brain.
Okay.
And you need to have a healthy mix of 4 or 5 of them, not just 1 or 2.
Right.
And if you don't like to do like the hugging, but like gardening or interested in something mental, something physical, exercise, all those things can play a major role.
Yeah. All right. The book is entitled Your Happy Brain, Why and How to Hug It. And it's available on Amazon, on Kindle. There's an e-version. There's a printed book as well. It's an easy read, but it is very constructive and especially if you're going through something. So, being an oncologist, so if you're treating someone for cancer with chemotherapy or with radiation, having this taking care of your brain and your emotions, you feel the medicine works better.
Absolutely. And the important thing, or at least what got us to write this book, is for people want to know how does it work.
Yeah.
If you tell people do this, they say, it's sort of common sense. But there is biology how it works, and I hope that once people know exactly how a touch influences the brain, that you'll pay attention to it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And it's part of the treatment.
Well, listen, if something can have a negative effect on the brain, something can absolutely have a positive effect on the brain. So that's really what you're saying here.
Absolutely. In fact, we are designed to have a positive effect.
What's supposed to happen?
And addiction is trying to give us that positive. It's an external fix. But that's not the way the brain was developed for us to have an external fix. We need to have an internal fix.
All right. Fair enough. The website is yourhappybrainbook.com. Dr. Gilbert Lawrence is local, so I'm sure they could reach out to you as well.
I'll be happy to, and I'll be happy to talk to their groups if they belong to any civic groups or social groups.
This is interesting stuff.
And show a brain model and where exactly the emotional brain is located and how it works.
Fair enough. All right. Well, thanks for coming in. I'm going to buy the book. So.
Thank you very much.
All right.